Good evening and welcome to Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. Tonight, we start a new franchise on the show called The Equalizer. And the story I'm about to tell you is shocking on virtually every level. Here in this country, we believe in the American dream. We believe that anybody can make it through hard work, honesty, determination, grit. More than a year ago, I was introduced to two men, Anil and Manish Patel, both of them immigrants, their families from India, who have achieved a measure of success in this country, in the hotel business, until it appears they were taken advantage of in a most foul and perhaps corrupt way. And so it is, for several months, I've been digging around in the story, talking to people involved. And I think what you're about to see is going to shock you. And I hope it creates shock waves in the legal community in New Jersey and around the world. And a sense of outrage where a lot of people will demand answers to questions. Take a look. Anil and Manish Patel are business partners, not blood brothers, but they are bonded forever by what could be a pattern of questionable judicial treatment in New Jersey. Anil grew up working at his family's motel. Manish worked his way through college behind the counter of this tiny liquor store. Together, they built a modest but lucrative hotel chain. They took on a business partner, a man named Narendra Lakhani. Patels say Lakhani tried to wrestle control of one of the properties away from them, and the matter ended up in the courtroom of New Jersey State Judge Thomas Miller. That's where the Patels' 9-year odyssey continues today. In the best case scenario, what has happened here judicially, Anil?
In the best case scenario, the thief has got away with the stolen goods, and the thief is saying that the Patels are a bunch of crooks and they owe me a ton of money. And to make it worse, the receiver has gone to the U.S. Attorney's Office and twisted and turned the facts into a pretzel and says that Patels are hiding assets. Patels are doing all of the wrong things. Here, the guilty party has remote control of the court and the receiver, and he's manipulating everything. And the underlying question is, why does the judicial system allow itself to be manipulated by a third party, one of the parties in the litigation? There's got to be some motivation. There's got to be something behind it. It doesn't, no judge is going to go out of his way to make Anil and Manish's life miserable.
If that's the best case scenario, Anil, what's the worst?
Well, the worst, I think I said, is we walk away and not do anything about it. Because they're threatening to put us in jail, And when the U.S. attorneys got involved, the normal practice when U.S. attorneys get involved in any litigation, whether it's civil or criminal, is to stay the civil matter until the criminal matter is resolved. So our attorneys filed a motion to do that. Judge Miller says, okay, that makes sense. We'll put a hold on the civil matter, but the collection of the judgment, we're not going to put a restrict on it. So basically, that's basically saying you can't fight civilly right now because we're putting your case on stay. But the receiver is allowed to collect on this fraudulent judgment that Lakhani created. And the reason he's allowed to collect is because that runs up legal fees for us. So definitely there's a pattern where they want to see how we can run up our legal fees and exhaust our financial resources and disengage and terminate or deteriorate relationships with our friends and business associates that are helping us.
And Manish, what do you think the motive is here of the receiver to continue this way?
The only motive I see is they are being paid by Lakhanis, so they're doing their job, and they're milking Lakhanis, and Lakhani is getting everything what he wants from this receiver. This receiver has gone beyond his scope of work. Whenever there is receivership, all they want is what? My tax returns, my bank accounts, and my information, which was given to them 4 years ago. It took them, and prior to this receiver, we have given all the information to Lakhanis, and it has taken them 9 years, and they are still throwing stones on the wall if they can find something. Now, if the judgment is not there, if the judge has not proven, what judge is saying is that I'm not going to give you final order on this judgment because it will be tried in the courts in the civil matter, and when the civil matter starts, that's when I can give the final order. Now, final order doesn't come in. We don't know the judgment is there or not yet, and he has given open-ended powers to this receiver to go on collection efforts. Now, if the receiver is on these collection efforts and harassing my friends and family, all they are doing is destroying my livelihood, my family's livelihood. My kids are suffering, and the whole family is suffering along with my friends.
All because of what?
Who has given open-ended powers to this receiver, and the Lakhani's attorneys have misrepresented this court. Either judge doesn't understand it, or he understands and he's doing it, intentionally. So now, after 9 years, I can say this judge is doing intentionally. In the beginning years, we said, look, judge may not understand this case or may not understand the legality of this case. But now, going through in this case for 9 years, we know he's biased, he's influenced, or he's using his powers in the wrong way.
Anil, what do you say to the judge?
Well, what I say, the last time I was in the judge's chamber and this issue of collection and procedure was going on, and I said to him, Judge, the guy took a $12 million hotel, transferred it without any consideration. In legal terms, consideration means if you're taking an asset, you got to apply the value of that asset to the debt or the judgment. And he says he has no answer. He just says, well, the judgment is there. The bank obtained the judgment, therefore the judgment is there. And I said, yeah, the judgment is there because look who instructed Manish and Anil and everybody to stop making the loan payments, even though he instructed us to, in writing and in verbal voicemail recordings, saying stop making the loan payments. His attorneys write us a letter saying you're not allowed to make the loan payments. Then they write letters saying we're going to take the bank accounts, transfer to different banks where we have full control, and they stop making the payment. So the whole issue of talking about the judgment and talking about the deed transfer and all of this, how did the judgment arise? What did it emanate from? What's the genesis of the judgment? The genesis of the judgment is Lakhani took control of the company, took the money, and stopped making payments. So they're saying, no, you have a judgment. Well, you can have a guilty party saying he's wanted for murder, and then you have a video recording which shows that guy didn't commit murder. The judge is not going to say, well, that's okay. You're wanted for murder, so we're going to find you and lock you up. When the proof is there that the crime was committed by somebody else. In this case, the crime of creating the judgment was created by Lakhani. And it's not Anil and Manish saying it or Anil and Manish's lawyer saying it. It's an email from Lakhani, email from Patton Boggs, Lakhani's lawyer, and his voicemail. And if they depose us, we can give the background of exactly what we're discussing. But the bottom line and the problem is they don't want to hear the truth. They want to just take a piece of paper, which was created through fraudulent acts of Lakhani, and say, okay, now we have this piece of paper, and this piece of paper says this is what it is. It's a judgment, and you owe the money. So by enforcing the judgment and not looking at all of these things, it shows that their mission is to just get rid of us.
If you can explain it so clearly, and I can understand it so well, why can't the court understand this, Manish?
Court doesn't want to understand this. Four different law firms have made similar kind of statements, and all these law firms are very prominent law firms like DLA Piper, Parker Anderson, Porzio out of New Jersey. All these big law firms are scratching their heads that this judge is on a rampage. He's violating federal decision, and we have no control over this judge. Everybody we went to seek help, they are saying is, we cannot interfere in this case until we get a final order. And this judge knows that so well, and he would not give us final order. He would not say that you have a judgment. I mean, he will deny our motions to mark this judgment satisfied. We have a document, a four corner of the document. It says in there, this judgment was fully paid and satisfied. This note was fully paid and satisfied. The judge doesn't recognize the document. He goes, yeah, the note is there, but you still have a judgment. And you did not oppose it back in the days when you were supposed to oppose it. We did oppose it, and they're not acknowledging it. See, the whole story is, Chris, when Judge Coyle was in this case in the beginning, everything was going in right direction. Judge Coyle said they're going to appoint a custodian. We're going to put money in there. Even if they can collect any money from us, they're going to put it in there, and we're going to start depositions. This was 9 years ago. We still don't have deposition started yet. This judge came in. He was replaced by Judge Coyle. Thomas Miller came in, and he canceled all previous judges' orders, and he appointed a receiver. He goes, you have a judgment, but we have a judgment, but it's fraudulently created by Lakhanis. And we are just so frustrated and helpless that we need some kind of justice, and we don't know where to go.
What do you think the motivation is here, though? Why would this particular judge have a bias against the Patels in this manner? It seems fairly clear-cut that this is a business matter, that there was a judgment, the judgment was settled, and people should move on. Why has this occurred in this manner where there appears to be some sort of bias against the Patels?
I really can't figure that out, because many times when I was in the case, and I'm no longer in this matter, but when I was in the case, many times we would meet with the judge, and the judge always seemed, for some reason, he wanted settlement, of course, but for some reason he always seemed biased against the Patels, always wanting to force the Patels to settle, and always stating that, the court simply didn't have the resources to hear the matter and to try the matter, which I believe was totally untrue when you look back at how much time has been spent in motion filings. This matter could have easily been heard on the merits in a very short time period, okay, relative to the hours and years. It's not just months, it's years and years. This matter started in July of 2010. Here we are in January of 2021, and the matter has never even been heard on the merits. In fact, basic discovery has not even been completed or permitted to be completed. On numerous occasions, even while I was in the case, and I've been out of the case for a couple of years now, I attempted to file a request for the depositions of the Lakhanis, okay? And at least on more than 1, 2, or 3 occasions, I was denied the ability to depose the Lakhanis. If you ask me, is there an influence? There has to be. What it is, and the source of that influence, I can't tell you. I have no information with respect to an influence, but why would a court do that? Why would any court do that?
Have you spoken to the lawyer in the other case, Cynthia Huang?
No, I have not. I have not. I sent her an email, but I haven't heard any response to the email. I probably would be interested. Like I said, I've been out of this case for a couple of years, so it's really, I don't really have anything to do with the matter at this point. I've turned over all the documents to their substitute, to the Patel substitute counsels. I've answered all their questions, and I've made myself available if there were additional questions, being that I had been in the case for numerous years.
The fact that this same judge in New Jersey entered into a case where he really didn't have jurisdiction, although it's in the same court, another judge had been handling it, does that raise suspicions given what you know about the Patel case?
Well, it does, because, I thought maybe the Patel case was simply an aberration. And maybe it was just that the judge felt that way and felt that this is the way he was going to manage this case, despite my feelings that he was purposely intruding upon the constitutional, mainly due process and equal protection rights of the Patels. However, when this other case came out, it seemed clear to me that this is not an aberration, that this has probably happened before. Obviously, it's happened in this new matter, and it's probably happened before. And my understanding is that this judge was recently became the assignment judge for that particular county, Somerset County. So it raises suspicions in my mind that this judge is taking certain liberties. And again, I can't understand why he would do that, or why he would feel that way, where he would have to interject in a case that was so well had proceeded in the normal fashion.
It was resolved essentially, but for one issue.
And
why would
he have to interject in that case, and for what reason? And I mean, unless he has an explanation, which I haven't heard the explanation yet, and unless he has an explanation as to why he wouldn't, to this date, hear that particular matter on the merits.
Is there anything else at this stage that you want people to know? Anil, you go first.
I think this is, after getting involved in this mess, or I shouldn't say involved, after being forced into getting into this mess, I started watching movies and based on true or reality. And the problem is that the bureaucracy and the administrative process in the legal system is such that an attorney can take a case, misguide it, and run in a direction at a pace at a pace where it keeps giving you the wrong impression. It keeps giving everybody else the impression. Here they're calling the thief innocent bystander who was owed so much money, and the Patels are hiding and stealing and secreting assets to avoid a judgment. In reality, the thief is Lakhani. The court doesn't want to realize it, and the legal system doesn't want to realize it. And bottom line in legal is it equitable? Is it fair? Does it make common sense? Well, equitability, common sense, and reality has nothing to do in Judge Miller's court.
Manish, anything else at this stage you want people to know?
All I want people to know is, how can we get justice in this court where this judge is violating state and federal laws and nobody's there to support us in fighting this battle where we can get justice?
Anil and Manish Patel join me now. First of all, let's talk about Narendra Lakhani. Anil, you have known this man a long time. What do you think the motive was for him to try to take control of this hotel? Is it just greed? And how could you have not known this about this man when you first entered into the business relationship?
I think, after we've had some time to think about it, I think it's greed. Plus, his ego is such that he always has to be right, whether it's in the legal system, whether it's in the banking system, or the business world, or social world. And so it's a combination of the two, or three things, I would say. It's where he has to show that he's always on top of things, besides greed.
Manish, did you ever think that Lakhani was capable of doing something like this when you first entered into the partnership?
Not really. Not in the beginning. In the beginning, he came out like a very nice guy, like elder brother to us, that he's going to be with us for a long time. It's a long-term partnership. All those things, we were told. But this was a sudden shock when he started, in this direction. It all started when he told us not to make the payments to the bank. And Anil and I had guaranteed the loan, so we had to make the payment. And that's where it started. As soon as we make the payment, he took over the management of our company. After taking the management, he shut down the accounts, he changed the bank accounts, he stopped making the payments, and he created the default. So that's how it's all started. And it was shocking for us in the beginning, thinking that we'll get a day in the court and we have all the documents black and white and we should get justice.
Well, that's the
So
most stunning thing about this case, I think, is that the entire drama, if you will, the financial disaster was created by Lakhani in an apparent attempt to take control of this company. And you have never had your day in court to say, look, here are the documents. Here is the evidence. Here is the proof. And that has got to be, Manish, so frustrating to have this go on for going on a decade.
yeah, it's almost 10 years now. So see, what we thought is, this kind of cases where when you have a judgment, what can a receiver ask from you? Your financial statements, your bank statements, your information. So discovery can last up to 3 months, 6 months, maximum 1 year. This judge gave unlimited time of discovery. It's been going on for 9 years. So their motive is not to hear the case in chief, just drag the time in discovery, where it's only one-sided discovery. We are not even given a chance to depose the other side. And this receiver is after us for 9 long years, where we have been harassed, we have been demoralized, my family has taken a big toll on this. So it's besides Lakhani, it's the judge who is giving them a ride. If this was done in first 2 years and if the case in chief had started, we would have got our justice.
We'll get to the judge. We'll get to the judge in just a minute here, but I want to get some more information on Lakhani. Anil, give me a sense of the personal disappointment you feel having Lakhani do this to you, both as a business partner and as a fellow member of the Indian business community.
Right. Yeah, I think it's very shocking. Like Manish said, in the beginning, he was like, I'm your older brother, regardless of financial situations. I'll always back you guys up. I'll help you. We became like families. He put his son in our management, and he wanted us to teach his son. So it was almost like a long-term relationship where all of a sudden overnight he pulls the plug and all of a sudden he's this evil person who's out to get you. It's unbelievable. It's something like Manish and me. If Manish did this, I would be shocked. It's similar effect with Lakhani, where we had about a half a dozen hotels where we did investments. We went to social functions. He came to our social functions, and in the public or in the front of the Indian community, he always bragged about us. So it was somebody who was cheering for you. All of a sudden, turns around and stabs you. So it's very shocking. At first, we thought maybe he's doing this to help us all and putting on a facade. But after being in this situation for 10 years, it's very obvious that, it's like Dr. Jekyll and Hyde.
I reached out to Mr. Lakhani. His son, who you just mentioned, got back to me and said basically we'd have no comment. Take a look at the court records, which I have done, and they're voluminous. And I can find no legitimate legal standing for this action. And it would seem particularly offensive, Manish, because you guys made money for Narendra Lakhani for many years. So what would his beef be besides the ego and the greed of kicking you guys to the curb and taking over everything here?
So first of all, I'll agree with you. It's only a greed than anything else, because that's how he has made his money in life. I mean, if you see a case, Peer Connection versus Lakhani, it's on Google. He has done exactly the same thing what he's doing to us. So he has made his money by fraudulent way of taking control of the assets, diverting to their own personal entities, and then depriving the partners of their equities. So this guy has a history of it which we never saw before. We only saw it after this case started, because we never doubted him at that time. As Anil said, we have a great relationship.
Anil, did you ever go to Lakhani and say, why are you doing this? I mean, obviously now everybody's got lawyers, everything is in court, and you probably have been advised not to have personal contact with him. But did you ever ask him face to face or over the phone, why are you doing this? What's your motive here? Can't we work this out?
Yeah, in the beginning, before it got this far in this many years, I had said to him, why are you doing this? And it's a very simple transaction where we have two hotels and almost 50-50 partnership. If we don't agree with their things, or if you don't like us for some reason all of a sudden, then you take the one that you like out of the two, and we'll take the remaining one and split our ways. And his reasoning was that my money is superior to yours and has a priority, and therefore I should get all my money. And this was during, it started during the big recession in 2010. So his approach was that reasoning or common sense doesn't work. It's my way or the highway is the front and the position that he took, which is not the same person that I dealt with before.
So all of this ends up in front of a New Jersey judge, Thomas Miller. And this has been going on, as we referenced just a moment ago, for nearly a decade. And it would seem that by my read of it, and I'm not a lawyer, that there has been pressure applied by the judge for you guys to settle. When you look at the rulings and the writings of the judge, it appears that he's irritated at Manish and Anil, that he wants you to take it and move on, and that you really have not had, as one of your attorneys talked about in the piece earlier, your day in court to lay this all out. Is that a pretty accurate characterization, Anil?
Yes, it's very accurate. And, normally the judge hears two sides of the story. In this case, we're the victim, and the judge is saying, I want you to go and settle. I'm busy. I don't want you to waste court resources. It's almost as if the judge gets very angry the minute he sees us in court. In the beginning, I used to attend every court hearing that was going on. I made a point of attending it. And after Judge Miller got involved in it, in about a 6-month, 9-month period, my attorney said that it's better that you don't come to court. So not only are we not getting our day in court, but the judge is sending signals saying, I don't want to see the Patels based on my attorney's instructions in the court. So can you get your day in court if he's not even allowing you to come into the court?
How have you been treated, Manish, by this judge in this court?
I would say very ruthless, because in the beginning, as Anil said, we used to go attend every single hearing. Then our attorneys told us that this judge, for some reason, doesn't like you guys, and we would want you to stay away. And after that, we never attended the court until uh, 2017, when the judge told our attorneys that you make sure you bring Anil and Manish. And that was the day when he was we were going to hear on the incarceration motion.
Incarceration motion. So this judge actually threatened you with incarceration? This is a civil matter, not a criminal case.
Yes, and what he did was, since he had this receiver on us for last almost 9 years, on the seventh year in 2017, this receiver tried every which way. I mean, we have done nothing wrong, so the receiver could not find anything wrong from our books and records. So all he could do is find us something in contempt of court, that Manish and Anil are hiding their assets, Manish and Anil are hiding their monies, and for that reason they are not, following the court order. And for similar reason, we would like to, in contempt of court, we would like to incarcerate them. And that was the day of the hearing when judge told specific to our attorneys that make sure Anil and Manish are there for the hearing. And he threatened us. He literally threatened us on the stage on the stand, when he told us that, guys, you know the consequences of this matter, right? And we both said, yes, Your Honor. And he said, I'm going to give you 2 hours to settle, and we'll get back in the court by 2 o'clock. By that time, you guys make your decision. Otherwise, you know the consequences. So
wait. So he threatened you with incarceration if you didn't settle the entire case.
Correct.
And you did not settle it, obviously.
Correct. And multiple times he have even told us to walk away from this case in front of our attorneys. He said the best solution for you guys is to walk away from this case. And we said, Your Honor, we are here to get justice. This guy has stolen our money. The guy has stolen our properties, and he has violated the operating agreement throughout the whole operating agreement. He has violated his duties. He has violated, and we need justice. Our documents are pretty black and white, and we need a day in court. We need depositions, and we were denied the depositions for 3 times. We did not even get the fair market value hearing on this thing. So,
Anil, how would you characterize the way you've been treated by Judge Thomas Miller?
I think it's not very judicial. It seems there's motivation behind his behavior, and it's a black and white case. Like Manish said, the documents are black and white. The issue is black and white, where even a non-attorney or a non-business person can say this is unfair. So in terms of court of equities, he's being very unequitable. And that tells us that there's some motivation behind this for him to persecute the victim and cheer for the attacker. It just doesn't make sense. And we've discussed this with over 2 dozen other attorneys who just to get their opinion. We always like second opinion, third opinion, 10th opinion, and everybody says there's something wrong. This doesn't make sense. And attorneys are saying that the judge is violating law, and judge is violating equitable common sense procedures. And so there's something definitely wrong. There's motivation behind it, and we assume corruption and some kind of a financial benefit for the judge, but we can't prove that.
Those are serious claims, and obviously we don't have the hard evidence to make that claim here. And judges typically don't comment on active cases, so we don't know what Judge Miller has to say to that. But we do know, and we talked about it in the earlier piece, that questions have been raised before about this particular judge in a case involving the Chinese community and a community center in New Jersey. Another judge in that same district was handling a matter, and Judge Miller later inserted himself into the matter and changed the ruling, essentially. And nobody can explain to me at this point why that happened. It has frustrated the lawyers for the Chinese Community Center, and we're digging into that further as well. But does it surprise you Manish, that questions have been raised in another matter involving Judge Thomas Miller.
Yes, like example for you, what you just said about the Chinese community. But besides that, when this judge was appointed, we had Judge Coyle in the beginning of our case, and Judge Coyle was going in the right direction. So, and Judge Coyle gave us depositions. We were supposed to give our dates. We never got dates from Lakhani's attorneys. And in 3 months, we find out that there is a new judge appointed, and Judge Thomas Miller comes in. He cancels all previous judges' orders. I mean, this is unheard. He cancels all previous judges' orders, and then he appoints a receiver instead of appointing a custodian who can, collect whatever he can until the case starts and case is heard. We never got a chance in the court.
Anil, what impact has this had on you financially and on your family emotionally?
It's a devastation financially and for the family, and in addition, mentally, it's been very distracting. It's almost like it's almost like a cancer, and when you have cancer, a lot of things are impacted in your life. The way you travel, the way you go into social functions, the way you deal with your immediate family. And to this point, my family and some of my friends almost see me as having some kind of an addiction, and they try to sort of pamper me. And at the same time, a lot of times people will say to us, why don't you, not knowing the details and the situation, say, why don't you settle? Why don't you walk away from this without knowing the facts? It's mind-boggling, and mentally, it has a big toll on you and the families. So my kids, for their education, for their other activities, they sort of treat me like I have some kind of a disease, and they work on their own independently and get whatever they want to accomplish, and sort of minimize my requirement because they all feel the stress that I'm under.
This matter has robbed you of a livelihood you should be enjoying at this point in your life.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we should be, taking vacations, taking it easy. But the big thing, Chris, besides just taking away our hotels and our money, the negative impact of this matter is that this fraudulent judgment that Lakhani has created inhibits us from doing other businesses. So, for instance, for me to get a credit card, because the judgment is bogus, but basically, Manish and I can say, okay, let's forget this business transaction, scrap it, and get it off our minds. But we can't, because each time we want to go buy another asset or do another business, it comes in the way. It's like a black mark, And so the loss of the business and the assets from Lakhani stealing them is one thing, but the inability to focus on new business and to recover the losses is completely stopped since the date of that judgment. So it's a double-edged sword.
Manish, what particularly strikes me and others who I describe this case to as disturbing is this notion of the loss of the American dream. I mean, Anil grew up working in a family motel, washing sheets, cleaning rooms. You worked your way through college in a liquor store in a rough neighborhood. It wasn't like you guys were gifted this. You built this through hard work, determination, and a keen business sense. And through little or no fault of your own, besides choosing a bad business partner, you're in a very difficult situation financially, emotionally, and intellectually. It's hard to rationalize any of this. I mean, what toll has this taken on your family, Manish?
My family has gone through a lot. As Anil said, my kids, while they were in 11th and 12th grade, and I was going through this case, My son, especially, he's reading through all these briefs. He wants to get into law school, and they are suffering like crazy. They said, "Dad, don't worry about this. We'll go to school where we get full scholarships." And luckily, with God blessings, both of my kids got scholarships at college, which has saved me a lot of money that I didn't have to spend. Uh, and my parents, especially, we live together. My father went through a stroke. My mother is suffering from cancer, and all these things have taken a lot of toll on me and my immediate family, where it's like a sword hanging on my head every single day, every single morning when we wake up. What's going to come today? What's receiver going to do today? And it's a never ending story.
And not only that, it appears that those in the community, friends and past business associates who have helped you finance your legal battle, are now becoming targets of this
Yes.
court and of Lakhani themselves. So at what point do they starve you to the point where you're just gone? I mean, this harkens back to other stories I've seen, at a different level, where immigrants have bought taxi medallions, for instance, and suddenly the value for a lot of different reasons has dropped dramatically, and these guys have nowhere to go, and sadly you see them jump into the Hudson River just to end their lives because they're so desperate. I mean, is that what they're trying to do to you here?
Yeah, so I have felt the similar situation so many times that why am I alive? Why am I doing this? What did I do wrong that I'm suffering from this? But then you have a family to take care of it. My parents are dependent on me, my kids are dependent on me. So you have to fight this case on a daily basis, hoping to get justice one day from this court. And all my attorneys, as Anil said, dozens of attorneys have told us that you're not going to get anything out of this Judge Miller from this court. So finally, we are in U.S. Attorney's office, and even there, they have diverted the U.S. Attorney's office. The case should be investigated from the beginning. Instead of that, they have started investigating this case from halfway. They are just investigating on us that Manish and Anil are hiding stuff. We are not hiding stuff. We have given them all my tax returns for the last 15 years. If I had made money, I would be hiding money. Money was made and invested in the properties. As you said, Anil and I started from scratch. When we started from scratch, whatever money we make was invested, to create equity, to create wealth. But in 2010, when all these things collapsed and Lakhani took full advantage of us, this was equity that we have built up for our lives, and he took it. So we have nothing left besides fighting him, because end of the day, we cannot do any business, as Anil said. We cannot get loans from the bank. Whatever banks we have or what properties we have, we cannot borrow anything to run these properties. Last year and a half with pandemic, there's a very difficult situation where we cannot even have any money to put in our properties to run these properties. So we are losing one by one. We are losing assets one by one, and that's their goal. And in 2017, a friend of mine told me, Manish, give your documents to my attorneys. If they say you have black and white documents, I'll take care of your legal fees. So now they're harassing my friend. So what they want to do is chop off my wings so I cannot fly. So they're harassing my friends and families who are supporting me. So they don't support us. So the only way Lakhani can win this case is we walk away, and that's the threat we have got all along in 9 years.
A lot of people around the world will see this story, and we're going to stay on it until we achieve justice here. Anil, what do you want people to know most about this case and its impact on your life and your family's life?
I think the first and foremost is that even though America's land of opportunity and everybody believes in equal rights and justice, it is obscene to have a judge violate civil rights, intimidate you, threaten you, saying give in, walk away, or I'm going to arrest you. And I see so many constitutional rights being violated And it's being done not by an authority like a police officer or somebody in some other capacity, but a judge sitting on the bench is doing this. And I directly said to the judge, I said, Judge, this is not equitable. And he just stares at you and says, you better settle. And we're Manish and I and our families are from India, and we can see that you don't get justice in India. But in America, we always believed in, I went to school here, that you should stand for your rights. And I think the world will look at this and say, we cannot believe that this is going on in America, where it's a black and white case. You don't need legal technical background to understand it. And this is happening. And, when you have a sovereign person violating your rights, it's unbelievable. But you have a presiding judge, and our research shows that they have immunity where the judge can literally put us in jail for 20 years, 30 years, and if it's found that he was wrong and we were right, still he has no exposure. So this immunity that the judges have and sovereign authority people have is unbelievable. It's almost like he's the king, and the king says, thou shalt kiss my ring and like what I give you and get away, and I should be able to get away with it. So I think the world needs to understand that there are judges in the United States that are violating rights left and right, and nothing happens. And if it wasn't for the support of family and friends on the legal side, the question of justice or no justice would not even be raised or answered.
Manish, what would represent justice for you in this case?
See, this case is all about a wealthy individual destroying the middle class partner with the help of biased judicial system. The only help I am seeking is give us justice, Your Honor. With all our documents, black and white, the guy has committed fraud, and he's walking away. He's living life, whereas we have been deprived of our livelihood. We have been deprived of all our, especially family. Family is deprived of livelihood. My wife, my kids, they all are. Dad, when is going to get over? When can we go out? When can we do things? When can we live life? All these questions, it bothers us every single day when these things are not moving at all. And every attorney that we have spoken to, they say the same thing, including the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Delaware, ex-Chief Justice, who's representing us in a couple of LLCs. He's scratching his head. He goes, Manish, I have never seen this in my entire career. And this is absurd because I don't know why this judge is doing this, and he just doesn't understand. He's scratching his head.
As I mentioned during the interview, I did reach out to Mr. Lakhani. His son got back to me and said they would have no comment other than what has been said in the legal documents, which are obviously voluminous. I have reviewed many of them. I have talked to lawyers involved in this case. I can see no reason that this case has not been fully heard in the court of Judge Thomas Miller. Active judges don't comment on cases that are currently before them, and I understand that. But if you have had a dealing in this court, Somerset County, New Jersey, or with this judge or any other judge in the area, I'd be interested in hearing from you. And you can reach out here to us at the YouTube channel, Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. We will continue to follow this story until we get some measure of judgment or some answers to questions that we have not already received. And if you have an issue that you would like to have explored in this Equalizer franchise series of ours, reach out to me, and we'll be watching for the comments here at the YouTube channel. That's it for this edition of Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. Thank you for joining and I'll be watching. Take care.